this is Vicki Jervicus at the Greater Gainesville Chamber, and I'm delighted today to welcome Jenn Garrett to our candidate interview little Zoom box so that we can get to know her better in her candidacy for the Alachua County Board of County Commissioners. And Jenn is running for District 3. We are on single member districts now, so all you District 3 people out here, here is one of your candidates. Jenn, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Vicki.
All right. You can tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we will jump into the 5 questions I have for you.
Thanks so much. So my name is Jenn Garrett, and I've been an Alachua County resident for over 23 years. Like so many people, my husband and I moved here for school, and we were lucky enough to be able to stay. We have 3 children, one in elementary, one in middle, one in high school in our schools here. A lot of folks have asked me why on earth would I want to do something like this, especially in this political climate that we're in right now. I do have a background in politics somewhat. About 10 years ago, as part of the Junior League of Gainesville, I served on their state public affairs committee. We would go to Tallahassee, work on bipartisan issues, both Team Red, Team Blue issues like repealing the pink tax. We helped develop some of the very early legislation to fight human trafficking in the state. And I found that I really enjoyed being able to go to Tallahassee and make a difference, getting to know our legislators there, getting to know the other women leaders across the state. So, but I'm running locally, and I want to tell you a little bit about kind of how I got to that place and why it's so important for me to run locally, why that's really a focus of mine. So my master's degree is in design with a concentration in historic preservation. I think probably a lot of people don't know that because I work in public art now, large scale art. I did all the sculptures on the outside of the Cade Museum. We love the Cade. My husband's a scientist. I'm an artist. So we supported them with that. I have my first 1-ton sculptures over there at Celebration Point. So a lot of people know me from my art world, but they don't realize that I also have that interest in historic preservation. And I used to work as an architectural historian. So in that role, I worked at a cultural resource management firm, which basically just means that when there's a big project, like we were subcontractors of DOT and sometimes Army Corps of Engineers, or sometimes for private developers or counties or cities, if there's a big project where cultural resources need to be managed and historic preservation needs to be considered, that's when we would get hired. So that's kind of where I learned to read a road plan and look at all of the different planning documents that go along with that. And I found that I was really interested in that. Prior to being a subcontractor for DOT, I don't think I thought much about the roads, but kind of knowing how powerful DOT is and how much influence they have on our daily lives, it was really interesting to get to know it and to get to know it through that historic preservation side. So when the opportunity arose for me to run locally, and I live in a district where we have a lot of road problems, we have a lot of traffic problems, we've had a lot of development growing pains. That skill set that I have, I think can be really helpful. So I'm really excited to run. Like I said, roads, infrastructure, traffic is a big focus of mine, as well as public safety. I have 3 kids, so their safety at school and safety in our communities is a big priority of mine as well.
Okay, terrific. Well, now this is a perfect segue to a couple of our questions, and you've touched on a couple things, but this is a chance to talk a little bit more about it in specific. First question is, what particular skills and experiences do you bring to this office?
So yes, I just kind of went over a little bit of that, but one part that maybe I'd like to highlight more is just that I have an interest in growing our business community, specifically our small business community, and especially those businesses that I sometimes call cultural businesses. So that's what my business is, but I think restaurants are included in that, and any kind of performing arts, any kind of arts group, craft type thing, even perhaps craftsmen that we have here in town. Those subgroups are really hit hard during the pandemic, and I feel like we're still in a rebuilding phase. I feel like the culture of our community, so many of our small restaurants and things were put out of business. So many of our smaller, even boutiques and things that carry specialized crafts like that are being kind of run out, and that plays a huge role in defining the culture of our community. One of the reasons why I love our community so much is because of that arts factor. So I really want to look at ways that we can grow that industry and empower more folks to start a business here. I know when I started my small business, I was amazed at how easy it was to go into the state documents. And I mean, in an hour, you could have a small business. So, of course, there's a lot more to it than that, but I want to help bring that experience to more folks here to the benefit of our community.
Terrific. Okay, well, that again leads in, and I will reiterate, no one got the questions ahead of time. Just everybody is just well prepared to talk today. What would be your top priorities and projects if you are elected?
So, as I've said before, in my district, a lot of what we have are the growing pains having to do with development and our roads and traffic. So that is a huge part of it. The western side of the county in District 3, a lot of folks out in Newberry have felt like they really have not had a voice in what goes on in county government that has been overly dominant of what's going on inside of the city of Gainesville. So that's a priority of mine, is just listening to the people in my district and making sure that I am representing what they need and advocating for what they're asking for every day. So part of that, as I said, is helping support small businesses. Part of it is making sure that we have very smart development that both meets our demand, our increasing housing needs, but also does so in a way that we all can live together and it's not a traffic nightmare and it's not destroying all of our environment. So there are ways that we can do that, and there are ways that we can do it where it doesn't take, an extreme amount of money, an extreme amount of hassle for a developer to do a project. One thing that I think some people don't realize is that it's so cumbersome to develop in our county that ends up driving up the prices of housing because it takes first of all, it takes a lot of our local developers and craftsmen out of the picture, that they don't have the pockets deep enough to fund those kinds of developments that don't show a profit for 3, 4, 5 years, maybe more. So I want to bring a lot of that local, make sure that we're giving the opportunities for our local business owners to compete and do those types of projects, and do them in a way that makes sense and is respectful of the environment and respectful of the people that already live in District 3.
Okay, terrific. And that's again another good segue to drill down on that a little bit, which is what policies could the BOCC adopt to help spur job growth and diversity in our county?
One thing I really am interested in looking into and promoting is, well, to give you the background, and I'm sure a lot of folks in the chamber already know this, and that's honestly who I learned this from, is that we have a lot of jobs in that very high tier where they're very high paying, very good jobs, very stable jobs, but they require a high level of education, a lot of training. It's not something you can get into easily. Then we have a lot of those lower kind of entry level jobs like fast food and the service industry that you can get into, but it's probably not a job you can really live off of. It's not giving you enough money. What we need are more jobs in that middle. So we have a good start. We have everything that Santa Fe is doing over there with all of their technical programs, kind of this blue collar approach. I think we could still do more in our schools and promoting the trades and promoting craftsmen, building craftsman type opportunities. I've had the pleasure when in running, I've sat down and met with so many business owners, and a lot of them in the construction side tell me how difficult it is to find craftsmen in our town and that we need more. So that's something that I want to make sure that we're making that transition and introducing these opportunities to our youth and our young adults, so that we can help foster those jobs in the middle.
Terrific. Now, despite our county's many positives, we are still plagued by inequality. Incomes, housing, educational attainment, all of those in particular. What ideas do you bring to the table if you're elected?
So that's a huge concern of mine. Our poverty rate in our town is 20.2%. But 1 out of 5 persons is living below the poverty line. And then we have a large number of folks that are living just barely over the poverty line, which is still very hard to live here for that. So, like I said, a lot of what I want to focus on is helping folks get from that entry level job area into the next middle job area. Some of that is trades, some of that's blue collar, some of it's craftsman type work. um, and then what I'm also hearing when I talk to the folks at fire rescue and the sheriff's office is they have so many positions that need to be filled that they're not getting a lot of interest in. So how can we market those needs that we have for fire rescue? I mean, those two jobs in particular, fire rescue and police, they're very challenging. And but at the same time, the schedule, I think, could be very attractive to some young people where you would work like fire rescue 1 day on, 2 days off. Um, I could see if we do the right kind of marketing for those jobs that we could get more folks into those positions, which are, jobs that you can make a living off of, and that many people find very rewarding, and that I'm very grateful for. So I think for the county commission and for working with the chamber, that we need to do a better job of the of connecting the folks that are looking for a job or need a job and getting them into those jobs that we need in the county.
Very good. All right, and you did touch on this, but again, this is one of these questions that I think you could talk about forever. So we're going to give you another chance to amplify, which is why are you running for this office?
So I've told you a little bit about that, but there's kind of a secret reason why I'm running. And it's essentially that I do have kids, one in high school, one in middle, one elementary. And when I look at them, I can see myself wanting that we would have a community that's affordable enough that they could afford to come back here if they so choose after they go to college or get educated or whatever they might do, that they would be able to afford to come home if they'd like to, but to also make it awesome enough that they want to come back here. So I grew up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I lived there and saw firsthand, I saw it go from worst to first, they say. In 1978, it was the dirtiest city in America. And then as when I grew up there, I saw them do the Project 2000, where they reached out to the community. They looked at every aspect of community, and it was economic development, historic preservation, the arts, tourism, technology, zoning, everything kind of all together. And it was a big group community effort. And it must have been pretty good. I mean, I was maybe in elementary school and middle school when this was going on, and I remember it.
Mm.
So I'd like to do something that here where we come up with the really big goals. And these aren't red or blue goals. Now, red and blue are not going to want to get there the same way, probably, but we have these sets of goals that will create the kind of community that we all want to see. And it will be bigger than just a 4 year, 8 year, 12-year commitment of each individual county commissioner, that we are making sure that every decision that we make is working towards meeting one of those particular goals. And I think having that framework, and we definitely have bits and pieces of that in the county commission now, but it's not a big cohesive piece that we kind of go back to and guide every decision with. I think it helps to have something like that where you can kind of have these measurable goals where, like, okay, in the environment, we're at meeting 95% of our goals, but in addressing poverty or economic development, we're down here at 10 or 15. Those are numbers I made up. So that's not, but it gives us a way to gauge where we're spending most of our efforts and kind of making sure we're not neglecting one aspect of community.
Very good. Okay, in our last couple of minutes together, the floor is yours. You can just bring us home, or if there's any issues that we didn't get to that I didn't ask you about that you wanted to cover, now's the time.
Well, thank you so much. You were very thorough, and I've just really loved this experience of running for office. Yes, it was an intimidating, and had I not had those ladies that encouraged me from Junior League and throughout the state of Florida, it would have been much more difficult to jump in. I've also had support of the folks that are in the legislature now. And that's been helpful. But one of the ways that I've run the campaign is going to be the same way that I run when I'm on the county commission, is that I look at that kind of basic Dale Carnegie way of doing things, which my high school son just had to read How to Win Friends and Influence People, which I was kind of excited that he read. That book's
Yeah,
almost 100 years old now, and
it's amazing.
it still works. So, and I told him that's kind of how I'm running this campaign, is just talking with people, finding out what do they do, what do they like about the county, what do they not like about the county, what do they struggle with, what's important to their families, really getting to know them, and then seeing it's been so magical to see how different people can be connected together. I haven't always had to wait and um, until I get into the county commission to introduce people or kind of put ideas together. So that's been something unexpected that I really have enjoyed, and I will continue to do. I'm not going to make assumptions when I'm in office, that I understand what folks in every different community, what's important to them, and how things are going for them. So I will continue to have meetings. I welcome anyone to have a meeting with me, call me, reach out to me. I'm extremely extroverted, so I love that stuff. And that will help inform me as a leader and help me be a better advocate for the residents of District 30.
Terrific. All right. Well, it's been a pleasure to spend time with you today. And I want to wrap up just by saying the Greater Gainesville Chamber is committed to helping in every way we can to make sure your voice is heard. So we encourage you to get educated, watch the dates. November 5th, which is our voting day, is going to be here in a blink. So get out, make your voice heard. Thanks again, Jenn, for spending the time with us today. Good luck on the rest of the trail.
Thanks so much.